Everybody, all week we've been telling you about the daycare center in the Bronx where 4 little children were exposed to fentanyl and 1 baby died because of it.
Yeah, so listen to what Mayor Eric Adams had to say, talking about just how dangerous this drug is.
That little piece, that little corn, about less than the size of a fingernail, a tenth of the size of a fingernail, can kill an adult. So imagine what it could do to a child.
So the question is once again resurfaced, why is this so popular? For the facts on fentanyl, we turn to an authority, the DEA special agent in charge in New York, Frank Tarantino. So thank you for coming in today. I appreciate you being here.
Yeah, thank you, Dan.
Let's talk first and foremost about the Bronx daycare case overall, because when you look at it, it's just so tragic with the loss of life because they were kids. What's the latest here?
So Dan, Hazel, this is an ongoing investigation. That's what I would say. But I would also say that our hearts and thoughts and prayers and sympathies go out to these families and all the other families across the United States who have lost loved ones to drug poisonings. This is why we do what we do. Our mission is to save lives. And as I've said before, this is not a war on drugs. This is a fight to save lives. And that's the mission that we recommit to every single day. And this is something that's playing out across the country, in every city, in every state.
Are you able to tell us, though, if there was some sort of a large-scale drug operation going on in that daycare?
What I can tell you, Hazel, is that this is not that dissimilar from other investigations that involve mid to high-level wholesale distribution networks that operate in the Bronx or throughout the 5 boroughs. The Bronx happens to be one of the most commonly used areas of the city to move high-level narcotics throughout the East Coast.
There's been a lot of talk about the daycare overall, right? And how, it was just past inspection. And whether or not, when you inspect something like a daycare that's within a home, if the other areas of the home are also inspected besides the area that's being used as the daycare. What can you tell us about that?
So Dan, this is what we tell all of our families that we come in contact with and all of the people that we have the opportunity to get in front of in terms of education and awareness, is that you have to have these really honest conversations with your loved ones, and you have to educate them on the dangers that exist with fentanyl. Fentanyl is the most lethal synthetic drug on the street today. Yeah. It's 50 times more powerful than heroin, 100 times more powerful than morphine. 2 milligrams. That fits on the tip of a pencil. If you were artful enough, skillful enough to pour 10 to 20 grains of salt onto your kitchen table, that's a lethal dose of fentanyl.
Wow, that is absolutely amazing how lethal it is. And I don't think a lot of people know that, which I think is great that you're coming out here and talking about it, because when you think about it, everyone was probably wondering when you heard an 8-month-old was exposed to it. How does that happen? Like, how does it work that even just touching fentanyl can cause death?
Well, Hazel, this is the problem that fentanyl creates. First of all, it is something that the traffickers, the Mexican cartels, the Sinaloa and Jalisco cartel intentionally mix into their drugs. And not only into pill form, but into powder form and into all types of drugs, cocaine, methamphetamine, heroin. And they do that to drive addiction. They do that because it increases their customer base. It allows them to make more money. They have zero regard for human life. When you touch fentanyl and then you put it someplace in the corner of your eye or in your mouth, now you've ingested fentanyl, and that is lethal.
So to help us understand how bad it is in terms of the bad batches, right? Because we have a lot of reporting of like, well, this was a bad batch of fentanyl, because some users, I guess, get used to how strong it can be, but then there's the bad batch.
So let's be clear about something.
There are
no good batches.
There are no good batches. China and Mexico are an existential threat to the United States, right? This all emanates from China. Precursor chemicals are now flowing into Mexico, processed into these super labs, synthesized into fentanyl powder and pills, flowing into the United States. There's no scientific method in terms of how they make and synthesize this fentanyl. There's no ingredient, there's no label on the back. These are rudimentary, basic chemists working in rudimentary labs in jungles of Mexico, right? This is not an industrial lab in the United States. So when people get these pills, 6 out of 10 of them that we test in our laboratories across the country have a lethal dose in them. So that means 6 out of the 10 pills that you get could potentially kill you. And that's why we say one pill, one time can kill.
And what's scary is this drug could be used anywhere. Let's say someone's using it in a playground and there are kids playing around there. How do you know? What is the reaction to a child that maybe touches or comes in contact with it, that you know that something is happening, that the child has been exposed to fentanyl? Well,
Hazel, I would tell you that anytime there's a depressed heart rate and trouble breathing, I would suggest that if a family member or a loved one feels like somebody has become exposed to fentanyl, they should use Narcan right away. Narcan, or otherwise known as naloxone, is definitely something that we encourage our agents to have on them at all times in the event that they become unintentionally exposed.
So you know the hot spots in the city, right? You mentioned some areas in the Bronx. How do you combat it?
So Dan, you know what we're doing across the United States? We're mapping the threat. We're understanding how the cartel operates, where their facilitators are, and we've understood now where their influencers are. So we understand where the cartel has these pockets of influence, and we're going to take out the network. We're going to take out the Sinaloa and Jalisco cartels. We're going to drive down addiction. We're going to drive down these drug poisonings by holding them accountable. And in addition to that, we're increasing our education and awareness, and we've also opened up the availability for medical assisted treatment for those that need it the most. This is DEA's mission. Our mission is to save lives.
Yeah, and education, like you said, is so important. So we're so glad that you came here to enlighten us in all of this. We appreciate your time.
Thank you, Hazel. Thank you, Dan.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Eye-opening.